Bueno, my name is Thais. I am very happy to be here. Thank you, APECAT, UFI, for inviting us and hosting this session. I run a non-profit organization called DigitalFems, and one of the things that we are trying to contribute to the music sector is the analysis and understanding what metadata is and how or what is the correlation between metadata, AI related to recommendation systems or automated recommendation systems that we all know that today this is the way we are discovering music. There are certain sources that are talking about 80% of total music that streaming platforms are impacting us is the way we are today discovering music. So what we're talking about is about discoverability and the way music is today impacting us and the way we are discovering music. So what we are going to be talking today is what is the impact of metadata and the way artists are being discovered, and if there is a difference between male and female artists, and if metadata is one of the reasons why today streaming platforms, DSPs, are recommending 1 out of 5 female and gender diverse musicians instead of trying to be a little bit more just or balancing the presence of female artists and gender diverse artists versus male artists. Um, I don't want to get very much on this because the metadata world is something is a digital and a tech layer, and we are talking with the people working in the industry, artists and or representatives or labels, and they are not very much on the tech side of music, although we are living in an era in which we have all transitioned into digital, right? So what we're trying to do today, or what we will try to do today, is go through some questions, debate between us, because we have questions among us that we have been discovering, and we do not want to. So we have been waiting and not having the debate between us before because we wanted to have it in stage, okay? So I am very happy to introduce you to our co-panelists. Javier, can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, thank you, Thais. Hello, good evening. I'm working in music during all my life. Logically, I'm the older of all. I have always focused in the music business. I did so many things, but in the last 2 decades, probably, I'm totally focused in the digital world. And now I working in the way how to help to the artists to be discovered in the world of music with the pitching, because now the pitch is the only way that you can use the metadata for to try to help to be discovered in the platforms, in the DSPs. Um, Maybe your song could be more algorithm
Well,
place. That is how you can grow, and maybe you have luck in you can be inside in some of the most important playlists of these DSPs. I'm working in this thing like picture, so from the last 5 years. Always trying how to describe in the better way the music of our artists, trying to have better results. And this is my experience with the algorithm. The experience working daily, trying to change things and trying to have more and better results daily.
Okay, very interesting. You have been also curator, playlist curator, right?
Yes, because I have experience too. First, like curator of playlists in Spotify first, and during 10 years in Apple Music.
Okay, it's
And I know how it's worked. This kind is so relevant. The positions, how you choose the songs, how the people make the pitch for us, like curator. And now is how I working like freelance, completely freelance on my own for different labels, distributors, or artists.
okay. So you will share the tips. No,
Well, I
like
tried it. I tried.
what do we need? What is a good pitch, right?
It's
To be highlighted in playlist.
But always it's very important remember that it's necessary something really important, a very good song.
Okay,
Without a very good song and a
nothing.
very good artist, you can make the best pitch and you can try manipulate the data, but nothing work.
Nothing.
You need always a very good song. That is the reason that so many people call me, trying to help them, but it's necessary to choose and to try to select the better options, the best singers, trying not to, nobody want to waste time listen things that don't have any kind of possibilities.
Yeah.
You have to choose the things that maybe have one possibility to be in with a big result.
There's
No,
a lot of competence.
it's not
Okay.
only to have a very good pitch and to do correctly the data. Of course, if you don't do it correctly, you have less possibilities to
Yes.
have success. But always not remember always that the first step is to have a very good song and a very good player, a performer, and a very good singer, of course.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Uh, Gonçal, Gonçal works at BMAT. Can you explain our audience what does BMAT do and what what is the role of metadata in your daily
Okay.
work?
Okay. So hello everyone. At BMAT, our mission is to explain all the music that is being used in all the media, so creators can get the compensation they deserve. No? So often there's a exploitation of music here and there in linear TV, radios, streaming, but then at some point there's a single point of failure where this value chain uh, gets in trouble and the money doesn't flow to the correct people, the rights holders, etc. So we provide services for the music ecosystem with technology that we have developed at the company for years. And we monitor all the music that exists. We receive feeds from all the rights holders, and we combine it with all the databases that exist, and we build our own database. So whenever a song is streamed in a platform or broadcasted in a radio or in a show, we can report it properly, and to report that, you need metadata. No, this is a description of what has been which what's what's the what's the song, and all the information that enables the the value chain to work. No, we are like the oil in the engine that makes it work. So, for example, to give numbers, we listen to 22 years of audio every day. 22 years. This for only for
Every day.
but this is only for radio and TV, okay? But then we process all the digital transactions of all platforms you can imagine, so billions of digital transactions while we are here listening to this panel, all the people consuming uh, the
Like,
songs in Spotify or in Deezer or whatever, YouTube, etc. This, of course, um, produces some value, and this value has to get back to the artists. And probably the artists, or no, in general, the music sector is not that aware of all this backstage happening
exactly,
in there.
exactly. I
No,
was going to ask, what a back end do you have, right? To monitor all these
exactly.
thousands and thousands
Yeah,
and
yeah,
thousands
yeah,
of
yeah.
millions of songs.
And it has to be very cost effective, right?
Exactly.
Because some streams cost, no, they pay pennies for a stream or for a, TV airplay or whatever, but it has to be super smooth and efficient, lean, and we have technology to do that thanks to investment in R&D and so on.
Yeah.
So that's very important, Jose, you know. Yeah. Well, we can talk about
Yeah, yeah. It's,
that extensively.
BMAT is a reference in the music tech sector, as you all know. If you don't know, you can look at it. Everyone in the world knows about you, and I think that what you provide, it's amazing. And your view, we have to talk about it. I'm going back to you in a while. Rosé, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for inviting me today. I am pursuing a PhD at the Music Technology Group at Universitat Pompeu Fabra here in Barcelona. And my topic is actually on algorithmic transparency for generative AI applied to music. So the sense here would be what is transparency and how also applies to metadata, but to define transparency really in big words, or at least how the EU promotes the term transparency, because there's a lot of ambiguity on all these definitions. But what is understood as transparency would be the unmasking of an algorithm, meaning how does this algorithm work, why this decision was made. All of these have terms such as explainability, interpretability, that maybe some people have heard of, or even accessibility, reproducibility. So basically, transparency is an umbrella term that allows us, or that upholds a lot of methods, strategies that allows us to have all this information about the algorithm itself and what it's doing. But it's really important how do we manage this information, because
Exactly.
information is key, but if you don't know how to interpret it, or is not well adjusted to whom should receive this information, it's also meaningless. No, like now we are in the most informed era of
The
history,
yeah,
probably,
the
but at the same time, are we informed? So there's this
gap.
challenge.
Sí,
Yeah.
and challenge. Yeah, so we all know that metadata is power, because at the end, no, a song without metadata is like a vinyl without label, without all the, the other side of the cover of a vinyl, for instance, no, and there you can see the names of the people that have contributed, no, and a lot of information, no, on metadata is the translation of such information in the digital and the data architecture of music industry, right? And at the end, metadata drives the way music is founded, discovered, and we're going to talk about this exactly, no? And this has a direct impact on what we call learning, o sea, automated processes or machine learning processes that are used to recommend music, as you all know, right? We are living in an era in where music is recommended by systems that have been automated, and the part of this process relies on metadata. So how, how much metadata do we have in this, data architecture system? Is it complete? How many? So I'm curious about the audience. How many of you raise hands? Raise hand if you use metadata regularly, or you write or upload metadata in systems. Is there anyone in the audience who's working on metadata? Ah, vale. Well, unos cuantos. Yeah. Good. So you all know, the ones that deal with metadata, that there are certain metadata categories that do not exist, such as gender or sexual identity. And this means that without this gender metadata, algorithmic systems are not able to recommend by, in this case, gender or sex. We can go back to what is the best thing, but the point here is that we are missing a way to recommend music. I don't know if you know the listening patterns of PSD, DSP, DSP users. No, there is a trend in which we can see is that female listeners regularly listen more music, more female artists than male listeners. Organic playlists and curated playlists also behave differently. So when the DSP is curating a playlist, and this is why I'm going to move to your topic, there is at least an intention to balance the presence of female, gender diverse, and male artists. While when there is an automated process, this cannot be done by the system, because the system does not have these inputting metadata features of a song and a track, etc., etc. So what we're trying to do here is discover if we can innovate by generating new metadata inputting systems. Anyway, what I'm very interested, and I think that the audience is also going to be very interested, is listening to Javier's experience here and trying to understand what are the challenges that the industry has faced before the digital era, I would say, before the DSPs, I would say, not even like the digital era, because that was much much long ago. I mean, imagine that we're talking about the year 2000, and we're talking about the way music was discovered, and what were the challenges that the industry was facing those days, and how did it overcome to the challenges? Because I want to listen about your experience in the TV world and the post TV world.
Yes, the times are changing. Called Bob Dylan many times ago, and obviously the things are changing so much in the last years in the music industry about the discovering the new artists that is completely different, and we are living like mountains of difference between one years and others. In the past, the people, for example, only needs a good connection with somebody, for example, a manager like Brian Epstein, and move an artist and release a big band like the Beatles. And it will be famous in all around the world with connections with the radios and press magazines and this. And with the pass of the time, was necessary more things to discover new artists with, for example, contents or shows, live shows. But now, the live is so relevant for the music? Not yet. Not now. It's important, but no is definitive because the majority of the artists are not ready for to play live. Only need one success and immediately are selling and making a sold out in Palau San Jordi with only with a DJ and a singer. No, it's not necessary to play in clubs, in live bands, and these things. In the last years, there was like a obsession with the data, with the if the data is the solution to find the new artists, but it's fake now because I'm not a very follower of the real data, because how is possible to know the real data in the digital world when is all is possible manipulate? We have so many cases, so many examples of people so famous all around the world, a number one in the world with a song and with an artist, for example, that is not ready to play, nobody know, and the data say that is number one all in all the around the world, but it's a legal place in a world that we have a lot of bots manipulating all time the data. And now the data is something that you have take with pinzas, and I don't know the word.
Just salt.
Yes, taking care with the data. I am very agnostic about the data. For example, we have all many rules like Chartmetric or other platforms. For example, some distribution companies like the Orchard have an amazing website with all the data of your artists, but this data could be real or not, because the DSPs, the platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, are continuing defending of the attacks of the bots making fake plays. And we are living this kind of things all the time because there are so many ways with the IA or AI, you can make a fake playlist, making fake plays all the time of your favorite songs. In this case, you have to take care about the data. You have to analyze, but always don't lose the point of view of the real life. Not all is in the data, because the data every day is more difficult to believe. In the past, at the beginning, it was true, because when you have the, for example, when Spotify starts with the viral playlist, it was very interesting because it was like a feeling that the people are using this song, are sharing, and it's good, a good place to discover the news, the next big thing. The artist could be a big success in the future. But now it's so easy manipulate with bots, with WhatsApps, fake accounts, and make noise. And you can be in the in the first positions of the viral playlist of the DSPs. That is not a very real way to discover someone. We are coming back at the other process to check and to see the artists, to listen the songs, listen the demos, and trying to select someone, and maybe could be something interesting in here. Okay, when you have something with a power, with something that could be connected with the people, in this situation, we can be start to work that to make a digital process for the release, a digital campaign, and maybe we can have big results. But now the data is something.
And this is related to something that we are going to be talking right now, which is transparency at the end. So we are living in a world where we do not trust
I know.
data because data is only provided by one side, so we cannot really trust it because there are no clear transparency processes, I would say, right? So I want to listen to Rosé. Rosé is an expert in algorithmic transparency. Her work is amazing. So what do you think about the algorithmic transparency? What algorithmic transparency means in this context, in music? What can you tell us, humans, poor humans, about what the lack of
I'm also
transparency?
human.
Yes, but you know more. You're like, the Greek pre-goddess, and we're the humans below, trying to understand this dramatic situation and trying to do something about it. So
Yeah,
what can you tell us?
well, now when Javier was speaking, I was thinking you were focusing a lot on the popularity rates, for example, right? And this is, of course, a part of this information that we have. And I would like to say that metadata is information. Then what information is there can have many shapes, and many things can be inputted there. Like, of course, there are some basics like the author, the producer, maybe where it was recorded, who was playing the drums, or all this information in the recording process. But there are other information that could be inputted there. And I think, well, I'm not an expert on how this uploading a song to the DSP works, but I understand that the artists or the people producing the song have a say on what information goes in there. I would hope that is at least like this. But you could decide whatever you put there, and maybe the information you avoid, and the one you want to include as gender, as you were saying before. But then when this information gets to the DSP will have its own parameters and then maintain the information that they want to maintain. And I think this is the challenge, that there are some standards or some practices in what metadata is typically preserved, I would say, or maybe trespassed through the different stakeholders and all this music industry loop. But then there are some information that might be loose there because there's no standard actually that says, okay, every song should have this, and that, right? Or maybe if I'm an artist and I really wanna say, well, I wanna register the mood I was feeling when I compose this song? Why not? Like maybe this is something I want to trespass to my audience. And this could be a way, because then when you check somehow the metadata in your streaming platform, whatever, would be like turning your vinyl cover and saying, this is what they were feeling. And maybe this, then I will create a playlist of my own and put it there. So this is why I was saying before that all this information, it's really important to know to whom it's received and how we are putting there, because a developer and maybe a record label or an artist or a user of a digital platform may even want the same information, but the way that this information should be received is really different. And I think here is one of the key points on transparency, is that taking into account to whom you're referring to. Because if I want to know why I was recommended a song, maybe from an artist, maybe it was because I listened to another artist, but I would like to know this relationship. And it's not the same if I'm a developer and I'm trying to improve my model, or if I'm a user and I just want to know why I got a recommendation of art, an artist that I feel like it doesn't belong with me, or that I really like now, surprisingly. No, so
Mm, one thing very different in the digital world is that all the data of these companies, DSPs, and other internet companies like Google or YouTube, is we have to believe the data that they send, but we don't know how make this data. We have to believe in a religious way, like gods. It's something that is not any question about how make this data. Is in this case, for example, if I am an artist and I release a song, and they say, for example, you have 1,000 plays. How is not possible that I have 1,000 and half? Or what is the origin of this data? Is true, is false, is not, but they are going to pay me for this. In the real life, it's very easy to share, to know when is the money come, if there are any transaction, there are many regulations about how they are going to pay you something. But in the digital world, we have to believe in the word of them, like in the word of God, because we can know nothing about how are creating and giving this information to me. It's,
and even if you did upload that information and you were like, yes, this was like what I'm saying here, and then the output is another thing, you don't know what happened there because it's a closed door.
and there are any kind of regulation inside, like in other companies, about is they are making a truly way of giving you this information. You receive the money that they want,
And that's
um, say bye. It's very strange world.
Yeah.
it.
I think we are discussing several layers here, no? So one thing is data governance with the digital world, no? So as an artist, once you release the song, you lose control, and then of your metadata, and then maybe we can talk about how this travels across the no
Sí.
the different the chain that yeah life cycle of metadata perhaps. Then the other thing is algorithms, what users get back from that metadata. No, typically nowadays with all the deep learning algorithms, not even the researchers or the developers that implement that model know what the system is going
To do or to outcome with.
yeah, because by definition. So it's a black box, no? And there's a lot of research in transparency, no, accountability. But yeah, so and then there's another thing of trusting, no, the numbers of the plays, etc. There's a very complex
And
thing.
the word trust itself is already
Yeah.
an issue.
So one thing.
Exactly.
It's amazing because we have to trust when we receive the money, for example, and they say, "What this is your money for this place," and we have paid to them for the advertisement because when you say, "Okay, I'm going to pay money to make a campaign in YouTube, on Google, or in Spotify," and they say, "This is the results." And you have this and you have to pay me now and you pay and you don't know you are not sure of any kind of result. Okay, when you are a promoter of live shows, if you sell the tickets, you have a feedback. You say, okay, I'm using my money correctly and I'm giving money to this company, and it's true, I'm selling the tickets. But when I trying to release a song, a promoted song with a new artist, the advertisement in the digital world doesn't work correctly because you don't have any kind of result.
There used to be, I'm going to put an example to understand the governance at the end, because this is a problem of governance, to me, to my understanding. There is no clear, model of governance, because artists should be the owners of everything, or right holders should be
Of the park.
or right holders should be the owners of this information, which disappears in the digital world. So 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 30? No, 25 years ago, the advertising industry, the digital advertising industry in the world was facing something very similar, like today with bots in Spotify, for instance. So the point was that there were bots who were clicking all the banners in the portals, and all the portal responsibles sat down in a table and said, okay, we should stop. We should stop to fake like the click-through rate, because we all know that we are faking this, and this is going to generate a negative impact in the sector. So how come can we create a model of advertising that can be, if not 100% transparent, how can we let third parties to audit what we are doing and then say that we're doing kind of something more trustful because we are being a little bit more open and transparent. And there was a consent, there were new standards created, and everyone was kind of more happy because there was no cheating. No one was cheating more than the other one beside. So at the end it was like a pacto de caballeros, y un poco machista esta definición, pero there was a consent on this. So to me, what I think we are all facing is that we are like ¿cómo se llama? Headless chicken. We don't understand what we need to do. Now we need to catch up with metadata. Now video is what we need to do. Then we are all running to produce video, and now AI is helping us. So at the end, it is like like super high speed catching up processes in which we are not we do not have the resources, the time, the money, and then there is no time to define how come do we want to envision the future of the sector. And this is one of the things that I am more I don't know, impacted by the problem, no? And this is why I think that your vision of how the metadata moves in the world. I mean, you have this, no, I don't know how to say it in English, cenital, no, punto de vista cenital, like I mean, the big picture, let's say, no, about what can how can we improve
Yeah. So
the
something that,
governance in terms
yeah.
of transparency, ownership of metadata, etc. No?
Something we need to understand is that the metadata is produced in several steps. No? There's some metadata that only the source knows how to produce it. No, so editorial metadata. Of course, the title of the song, no? The artist decides, or the manager, or whatever, the team. And then there's some metadata about how is this produced, and etc. etc. There are standards, by the way. DDX puts together all the industry to come to an understanding on how to exchange this data. But this is the important thing.
But not what
exchanging the no, there are standards that say this is mandatory, this is optional, blah, 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 and it super extends. You can just implement a subset of it. But then this data travels through the chain. And when a partner receives this data, it's not like, it's not a file that is stored as it arrives. This metadata is parsed, meaning that you have to read the file, and you take the fields and you store them in a database. And there are human interpretations out of it. No? There's a set of vocabulary that is used because you can name something one way, and in another place they are calling it another way. So you have to agree on a dictionary. But then the systems use this data, and probably they will be exported and sent to another place. So there's another.
Put an example, like what is a system for you? Like
let's put an example. So there's an aggregator that receives the data from release, from a record label. So they send the metadata in a way, probably a front end or whatever. No, this then travels to the aggregator sends it to BMAT, for example, or to Spotify. No. In an agreed format, no? Normally, typically now XML or JSON or whatever, no? We receive it, and we have to load this into a database. And the ontology has to take into account all these parameters. Depending on the company, probably we are not implementing everything because we are not. BMAT is not interested in a piece of information that it might be interesting for the digital service provider, for example. Then, when, for example, BMAT detects a song in a radio, we have to display it in the system or to report it to a CMO, no? So what we are doing is conveying this information that came from the origin until the very end of the value chain. No? But it gets enriched because most of the information that is needed by the CMO was not given by the creator, for example. No, you can think of the ISWC of a work that is in the recording, no? For example, so there are processes where you add information, and another example could be, for example, DSP processes an audio and extracts descriptors, high-level descriptors, danceability, energy, whatever, no, BPM, This is metadata also.
Of course, of course.
And this is made by algorithms. No? Normally, now it's not handwritten. There's some of this information is used by algorithms in a supervised way, meaning that you need somebody to annotate a ground truth, no? So the algorithm learns out of a human curation, but some of these algorithms are self-supervised. So you throw examples of that, and they come with a meaning that you don't really know what is this, but so you start throwing
black boxing again, black boxing again a little bit, no?
Well, but this is the
what they-
situation. Like
Yes.
they generate or they create in their own understanding these tags that maybe in the supervised way that there's like a check of this ground truth that like yes, this is
and here's where bias comes in, no? Because imagine you're showing to the system cars with 4 wheels, but only red cars, and you start throwing red cars images to the system, and then all of a sudden you send a bike, a red bike, and perhaps the system understands that cars are things that are red. But
Exactly. Not
no,
for,
but
not
not
for wheels,
for
but,
four-wheel
exactly.
vehicles, no? So, and since this happens, and so if you want the system to know about gender, you have to tell that, no? The voice can be a proxy, an indicator of
Exactly.
the gender of the singer, but not always, no? There's no visibility of the gender of the drummer or the producer or whatever. So you have to put it into the system, and probably those standards are not there yet because they don't
No one
support,
thinks
they
it-
don't support that.
Exactly.
So most of the times they don't even have the set list or the names of
Yeah, of the music contributors, for instance.
the contributors, no? So imagine the gender, no? So and then the other day we were at this conference by an engineer, and he said a very interesting thing about Niels Bohr, the quantum
Yes, yes, yes.
physicist, no? Quantum mechanics. That he said, okay, the experiment the way you design the experiment will affect the results you will get. No, and this made me thought a lot about. Of course, if the
Design-
system doesn't know about gender, how come are you going to solve bias?
The point is exactly
first
who is
time.
designing technology today is determining the outcomes of the world sometimes. So you all know that technology is designed by white males, mainly males are 80% of technology designers, females are around 20, and from out that 80%, I think it's the ratio is like, I don't know, like 7 white males, 2.5 or 1.5 Asian originally from Asia, and the other one, the rest of the people in the world, which should be the opposite, no, the opposite anyway. But I have another question also for Javier here. Like, what do you envision? How do you see? Uh, so you have seen how the power moves the industry. I think that you have had enough track to see how powerful forces, we can say these big companies, majors, or whatever. But how do you envision the role of big companies and small ones, maybe when it comes into adopting metadata, or how, or do you think let's rephrase it. Do you think that big companies, music companies, not big tech, but or digital companies, but well, now it's a little bit mixed, no? Because who is the owner of what? It's a little bit uh, blurred. Everyone, I mean, the powerfuls own X percentage of all the different industries, and the same happens to the music industry. But the point here is, so how do you envision the way the music industry is going to be shaped in terms of digital and the powerful companies versus not so powerful companies or smaller companies or independent no independent artists or companies? How do you see the future? Be positive, eh? Please, only positive messages. Like we have a challenge. Yeah, we can do it. No, but yeah,
Asking me to lie?
because at the end, I think that no, pop culture is always trying to hack the power, right? And and it has imagined uh, future scenarios hacking standards or but now pop culture, digital culture, and digital infrastructures uh, are in this mix, and we do not really know how big the mess is, I think, and how are we going to be able, for instance, to uh, ourselves have the sovereignty, enough sovereignty to debate what the governance should be or how the transparency should be. Also, who is going to lead the change? Let's say, let's put it that way. No, do you think there's going to be a change, and who is going to lead this?
Thank you. No, okay. Well, we're coming from a generation completely obsessed with the data, with the numbers. Everybody was obsessed with the results of the sum, of the players, of the followers. This is the number that everybody is checking all the time. For example, in big companies and small companies. In some companies, like distributor companies, don't sign nobody under 10,000 followers or 10,000 listeners per month, for example. If you have less, you are out on fire of the distribution company. Maybe between these artists, there are somebody who could be the biggest star in the future. Nobody knows. My position is that now, more than ever, the prescriptor position is absolutely relevant and the most relevant role in the music industry because the prescriptor are listening so many things, and when he or she choose somebody, is the moment that maybe this could be something interesting. Because when you are listening music free, in a free way, with not looking for where is the people who send you, for example, and you say, well, there's some, here are something, because the human touch, I think that is very, very, very important still in the music business. It's not possible that with, obviously, if somebody have big numbers, could be a big success because now we have in all the venues, for example, in all the arenas and festivals, so many people that they are the hype of the moment. But how many years are going to be in the music industry? Probably the big hypes of the last 2 years will be in the survivors TV shows trying to get money because there are not big stars in the future. And they were selling stadiums or arenas in 2 years or 3 years ago. The music business is more faster than ever. The things are changing a lot. The generation are consuming things and music all the time. Now in the digital world, for example, nobody know who is the singer, who come, what is the origin. Is directly, it's a success, it's a song that I like it, I'm going to pay for go to see them. If it's the first time that the artist is playing in any stadium, not in a small club, the people are not worried about it, don't think about it, and it's happened. But maybe could be a success now, but not in the future. And we are the success, the real success, is a big and a long career because the life is very long. I know. And, you have to be waiting to. You have to work, and you have to grow and make things different during your career. Now, if you have a success, the typical reaction of the record company or the artist is make again something similar to the thing that it was working. Is copying all the time formulas that we always works. Now, for example, an artist like David Bowie could be impossible because every record was completely different. Or the Beatles, the albums of the Beatles in 10 years was so different between one another one. And the digital industry don't accept this kind of artists that are changing so much because the public changed a lot. And it's more difficult than ever because all the time the people are watching your results, your numbers, your data, and you are going down. And for example, the pressure of the to release songs continuously is a tragedy
Sí, sí.
because there are 100,000 of release
Every
daily.
Sí.
It's impossible to listen and discover between these mountains of shit how it could be the new hollow, the new stars, and it's only trying to listen things. When I was working like curator, for example, I have to listen thousands of songs per week or per day. It's very difficult to find something that is really interesting to programming like in the big positions of the playlist. But it's the time now, it's the life that we are
Living.
living, and we have tried to survive.
How do you do, Javier, now to select the songs you are listening to? Are you trusting on algorithms, for example, to
No.
give you recommendations?
No.
Not at all.
Mm, for example, I tell to the public that the DSPs like Spotify, you can switch off the option of the recommendations because it's a way of manipulation of the Spotify. If you are listening always their recommendations, is you are in the business because you know that they are involved in the recommendations because they are paying less to the artists that they are recommending, usually with campaigns like discovery mode that they call. Obviously, I have to listen many things. I don't have time to listen the recommendations of the apps, But I'm watching the data about the results in TikTok, in Instagram, social networks, and Spotify. What is the artist that is growing? But it's only like a curiosity. I, in the past 10 years ago, I was completely obsessed with the data because in that time I believed in the data. But it's so sad that in the last years was completely changing with the bots and the manipulations. And when you discover a horrible song and terrify a horrible singer, for example, with an enormous success that you don't understand how it's possible, only with manipulation probably. I'm sure, and you can change. You are expert, then you can say how it's work and how did this kind of results. There are so many companies doing this. Companies that maybe are focused in Indonesia or in other countries, but paying the money from here, from Spain, and especially from Barcelona. It's very specialized in this kind of manipulations, and I am always taking care. But it's true that sometimes these artists are, some of them, you say, well, it's not so bad.
What is the role of transparency here?
I was thinking like then this is like super critical. Today's I think it was on the first day of Primavera Pro. Someone in this very room said that people from 18 to 25, which is the new generation and of course the future, are discovering music. 80% of this generation are discovering music through TikTok mainly. This means recommender algorithms. Even if it's not through a specific DSP or a streaming platform, it's another place where people are finding music. And of course, if we don't understand what the algorithms are doing, you can have a really critic view on that and be like, yes, well, I will look at the data on my own or try to figure out more niche artists or maybe even go to some new venues because people are maybe more moving to the underground now, trying to be more to the human side. I think a lot of young people are also claiming on that. But then it's true that this is not the best majority, and we are exposing the society to that. And truly, what this is what Gonçal said. Algorithms are a black box, and are a black box to the people that did develop them. And this, if you think like with this perspective, it's a bit scary
It's
because
super scary. But
yeah.
do you think would you envision a future in which the music industry would be mature enough to unite and, apply the legal framework in Europe that is supporting, I would say, a fairer view about how things should be done. So my point would be,
Well,
do you think that we can, litigate, or I don't know, how can we make transparency real? Because otherwise we lose people like Javier, like they don't believe in data. So
I have
we
to
can't
believe
afford that.
I have to believe that we will reach transparent models because if not, my research doesn't have any meaning and therefore what I do doesn't have any meaning. So I have to believe that. And I know that for many people, this is a naive point of view. But it's really difficult. There are many technical challenges to be overcome before we get to that. And the legal point is another issue, and we haven't touched on that. But even if there's the AI Act now or some other regulations, even in California or other places, this is still far from how fast the technology is actually evolving. So there are many steps here. So I would really like, my claim is we need to look more to what is happening here and really like invest here, like figure out what's going on and build then fair models for everyone, and even that you could even as a user customize your own recommendations and your own things, maybe because it's true that you get the recommendations maybe because Spotify gives them to you or whatever platform you're using, but why can I not I select what I want to be recommended, for example? This could be a really nice use case.
I like it.
Mm, I
He
would
doesn't
like
like.
no, I would like to say something that all the recommendations are
Biased.
manipulated,
Sí, sí.
of course. For example, we have to know that in Spotify, part of the members of the company are the three
Big.
most important multinationals. If anybody saw the TV series, the playlist about Spotify, you can say that Sony, Universal, and Warner are members of the board of Spotify. Logically, their priorities are always in the big positions, but it's more that now, in my opinion, the playlists are going down because the pitch are making that all the new algorithm playlists are the most important and are making the majority of the plays in of the one release. Even the big stars, the majority of the big numbers of the plays coming from the algorithm. Okay, but in the Spotify and in the rest of the DSPs, you have other playlist companies made by the multinationals. And for example, you can talk with some friend of you, where are you discovering new music? And they tell you, oh, okay, I like a lot new release playlist of one company called Filter. I say, sorry, Filter is a Sony company and are making all the new release there. I say, really? Sony is giving me all the new songs and say, yes.
Yes.
Sony has Filter, Universal have Dister, and Warner have Top C5. These three big companies of playlists are manipulating the majority of the plays of DSPs. How is possible discover new music? There are other kind of blogs, other kind of
Yeah.
media. There are a lot of people in internet trying to release. And don't forget it, there are very interesting clubs and live shows when you can see real new artists
Offline at the end.
offline in the real life.
Exactly. Well, I think that we need to close, but can we ask the audience if anyone has a question? Pues you can
I
do it
have
now.
one question.
Ah, vale.
About the gender, for example, because now the reality is in the metadata there are no gender option, and I think that is a very good idea, because it's the way that when you are in the metadata of the distributor writing, you don't have to say the gender of your artist, and then you have to write the age. That is other discrimination.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
know.
Definitely. This is something I also gave you the thought, but I think again, quoting Gonçal again, if the model hasn't seen something, it also can misinterpret. And the thing is that okay, maybe the data you use to train your model doesn't contain this information on gender, but contains other information, some maybe social, contextual information. And maybe because I like the Beatles, I will get recommended the Rolling Stones, right? And because there's some link there. And the thing is that if the information is not there, there's also no way to undercompensate that. So if we don't have that way even to introduce some counter bias to the bias.
There's one thing that in the pitch you have a space, 5 letters, maximum spaces, when you can describe your artist or your song. In that case, you can say if it's a woman, a male, LGBTV, or you can describe, for example, I recommended in that description, if your artist is young, that is something that's very easy to sell, new artists, younger artists, always recommended this to write this, especially if it's a female or a member of the LGTB. And it's a way that the robots, the algorithm, know information about your artist, but in other way. You are not, you don't have an obligation that
Okay.
you describe like in ID. That is a very
We can discuss if then the tag itself is the proper way or how this information could be. But to put another example, for example, when translating text or creating models to translate texts, it was used a lot of content in Wikipedia, okay? And for example, you take English content and they're showing you engineers, doctors, professions that are mainly in history referred as male. And then when this content is used to translate maybe from English that doesn't have gender in the own sentence, and then this is translated to Spanish that does, then even if the gender is within the sentence and you could deduce that it should be doctora and not doctor, for example, the models misbehave because it's in the data, even if you weren't in trying there, but it's in the social construct and therefore this is reproduced. That's why I was saying maybe you need the content bias and we can discuss if the tag or not is the way to do that. But if the information is not there, for sure you cannot give another.
This is a matter of big data. This discussion has been around for big data and gender for a long while already. And your point is that we can misuse this.
No, I think it is maybe a step before, because to change now and to put the option of the gender, because for example, if you you can put in the description about this song could be useful for equal playlists.
They are going to kill us. So we need
Yeah.
we need to continue the conversation because among us we need to clarify more this. So thank you very much for being here and attending this session. Hope you understood more about the gender problem that we are right now tackling and metadata. And I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much for being here.